Lane, DM2's Vice President of Sales. I'd like to welcome everybody to today's Extended Enterprise Suite and Sage CRM Customer Relationship Management webcast. Joining me today is Debbie Hill. She's a sales consultant and sales engineer with Sage Software, and she's Sage's expert on the Extended Enterprise Suite and Sage CRM module that comes included with that suite. Before I introduce Debbie, I'd like to just go over a couple of brief housekeeping rules. Everyone has been put on mute because of the number of people that we have in attendance, but you'll notice in the lower right-hand corner of your screen there's a chat window, and during any time during this webcast, if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat window, and if they're not answered by Debbie through the course of her presentation, we'll spend some time at the end of this webcast to go over any of those questions. And if we do run out of time and are unable to answer all the questions, we'll send a follow-up message and include answers to all those questions for everybody who's registered for the seminar. The other thing I'd like to mention is we are recording this. We're going to post this on our website in a few days, and we'll send a message out that will give you the information on how you can link to that website and share this recording with others in your organization who might not have been able to join us today. Before I introduce Debbie, I'd just like to mention that CRM is really getting a lot of press today. Some of the major oil companies are recommending or even requiring that their marketers start using CRM solutions to help track their sales opportunities and manage their sales departments. What you may not have known is that CRM solutions are nothing new to DM2 and Sage Software. Sage has been offering CRM solutions such as Act by Sage, Sage CRM, and Sage Saleslogix for years. Sage has worked with DM2 to make getting a CRM solution even easier than ever by integrating Sage CRM into its extended enterprise suite of Mass 90 and Mass 200, which of course as a Sage master developer, DM2 builds upon to provide you with our Petroleum Insights back office ERP solution. Sage CRM is a proven CRM solution that's been on the market for over 28 years and is being used by thousands of customers in over 30 countries across the world. So it's a proven solid package. What you'll find out today is how Sage CRM has been integrated with Mass 90 and Mass 200 to give you a better view of all your customer communications and put you in a better position to leverage all your back office information and keep your front office and back office people tied together and understand all the communications that you have across your entire organization with your customers. On that note, I'd like to pass it over to Debbie Hill, and she'll start out by giving you an overview of what's included in the Extended Enterprise Suite, and then spend the rest of the webcast walking you through a Sage CRM demonstration, kind of taking you from a marketing campaign all the way to closing a sale, and then doing post-sale follow-up with your customers. So I'll hand it over to you, Debbie.
Great, thanks, Tom. And again, thanks everyone for coming. So here's our agenda for today. Tom gave us a great understanding of what the Extended Enterprise Suite is. And like he mentioned, we'll go through all the include functionality. And then I want to talk about the customer experience and exactly what you can provide to your customers via the Extended Enterprise Suite. Obviously, we'll spend the majority of the time in the demonstration, and then we'll open it up. We'll have some questions at the end. And again, like Tom said, as we go on, please feel free to type your questions in the chat throughout the presentation. All right, so what is Extended Enterprise Suite? What we've done at Sage here is we're taking an end-to-end approach. Typically, organizations, you have your front office and your back office. And front office, that's anything that's customer-facing. So your support team, the marketing team, sales, again, everything that's in front of the customer. The back office is more of the inner workings of the company, your inventory, warehouse, the financials, payables, anything, again, back office, not customer-facing. So what we found is these two organizations would operate as independent silos. They weren't sharing information, even though they were using the same information. So regardless if you're in the front office and you're looking at a customer's record, if you're in that back office on the receivable side, you need to know what's going on the sales side. And that's just one basic example. Obviously, the same is true for all that shared information. For inventory, for example, if you are selling items, you want to make sure that the warehouse has sufficient inventory to fulfill that order. So rather than having these two independent information silos, what we've done with the Extended Enterprise Suite is we've integrated all the information so everyone's accessing one single data set. And as Tom mentioned, with DM2 being one of our, actually our top master developer, having that information available across your entire organization all in one spot, that's going to be a huge benefit to your business. Just making sure that any reports you generate, anytime you look for data, for quantities, for dollars, anytime you search for a piece of information, regardless of where you are in the organization, now you know you're all going to be looking at the same data set. So that's what we mean with Extended Enterprise Suite and that end-to-end approach, really getting the full gamut, getting all your data into one location. So here's a list of the modules and functionality included in the Extended Enterprise Suite. Everything on the left is what's built into the system. Obviously, everything on the right, if you've already made the investment in one of those modules, that functionality will come over. You're not going to repurchase anything. But if you don't have any functionality from the left-hand side, that's the additional modules that you'll see. So we've got, obviously up top, most important, our customer relationship management. We've got fixed assets and then some core accounting, some distribution, bill of materials if there's any light assembly needs, and then a lot of our business intelligence tools. So again, something DM2 is very familiar with, and if you have any questions on some of that functionality, we're all absolutely here to help you and explain how these tools can help you better run your business. Okay, so the last topic we're going to talk about before we get into the demonstration is the customer experience. And it's really, this term has moved. It used to be, contact management and even customer management. We moved to the customer relationship management and really managing the entire experience. So from the very first time you've met your customer up until the long-standing relationship that you have, we want to manage every single interaction and every single item that comes and goes. So typically this breaks down into 3 pillars. You've got your marketing, your sales, and support. And this is the outline for the demonstration as well. So marketing, that's anything to generate new business. That can be different email blasts, if you attend trade shows, perhaps you purchase lists from, say, a sales genie, or if one of your competitors goes out of business and you have a list of all their customers. Marketing efforts are that very, very first contact that you make with the customer before anything else takes place. So the functionality of marketing, as you can see here, can also be used to send existing customers newsletters. If you have promotions, if you want to do marketing activities to your existing customer base, there's that option as well. The next pillar that we divide the customer experience into is sales. And that can be a number of different options. I mean, you have your sales cycle. Some sales cycles are lengthy, where it takes weeks, months, sometimes a year to build a relationship prior to placing an order. Other sales cycles can be as easy as you send out an email, the customer calls in to place an order. So regardless of how short or long your sales cycle is, there are rules and company policies that you have to uphold. So again, you can also have a combination. Some items are lengthy sales cycles, some are small. But during the sales process, this is another one of the customer's experience. So you've introduced yourself, and you're building that relationship, and you're moving towards, again, having a business relationship. Finally, the support pillar. This is the third item that we'll get to in the demonstration, and this is anything that's post-sale. So we already have a relationship, we've already done a transaction, and now we just have to keep the customer happy, keep them coming back, and perhaps, again, resell them into different product lines. Also with support, you can do, here we have returns and warranty issues. Obviously, that's a post-sale issue. But you also have customer satisfaction surveys, help us improve surveys, those type of things where it's not revenue generating and it's not marketing efforts, but it's still maintaining that customer satisfaction level. Okay, so now we've got our 3 separate pillars here. Let's go take a look at the demonstration. And one last item here, during this entire process, I've mentioned sending emails, building relationships, all of that is done via communications. You've got your meetings, your phone calls, again, emails, perhaps letters. All of these stages require communication. And with the Extended Enterprise Suite, because, again, we're managing the entire customer experience, all those communications are tracked in one location. So regardless if we're promoting our new product or if we're doing a warranty issue follow-up call, we're going to have a complete view of our customer and know exactly what's been communicated. Okay, so here, again, just like I mentioned, the demonstration layout, introduction, we'll do a day in the life, and then we'll go through our marketing, market to prospects, someone we've never heard from, market to customers, and we'll show how easy it is to change a prospect to a customer, our post-sale support, and then at the end, managerial visibility, again, a very important key component here. Okay, so let me go ahead and switch over to Sage CRM. So I'll give everyone's monitors just a few seconds to adjust, and you should be seeing the Sage CRM dashboard. Now, right now, I'm logged on to Sage CRM through the browser. This is a browser-based application. You do have the option to view all of this from within your Mass 90 desktop or even from within your Outlook desktop. So all 3 systems are completely integrated, and it's just up to user preference as to how you want to navigate. But again, we want the software to work for you, and we want it to be intuitive to each user. So as we go through the demonstration, there are a lot of options. There's a lot of setup and functionality that we can tailor. So just keep that in mind. And at the end of the demonstration, if you did need to see something in more detail, again, reach out to Tom and Billy, and we'd be happy to provide that for you. So by now, everyone's screen should be adjusted. And let's take a look and explain what we're seeing here. So my CRM, I'm logged in as Susan May. I log in to my dashboard. And my dashboard is designed to give me all the information I access most frequently in one quick snapshot. So I have my opportunities, my companies. I've got my Google taskbar because that's something I utilize frequently. You can also have multiple dashboards per user. So here's my sales information. I could also set up my customer support information. And again, we'll see here we have the stock ticker tape. We have some other options. So it's not just mass information or sales information. The dashboard, again, designed all the information you utilize most frequently. So that can be anything outside the system. Some of our navigation options, we've got our forward and back buttons, pretty straightforward. We've got your recent. So if you access the most frequently customers, cases, etc., it'll keep a record of your history. To access other information, we can right-click and find anything. Really straightforward. When it comes to finding, obviously, people, sometimes they don't have the correct spelling of their company name, or they don't have all the details if it's incorporated. So the find features can use masking of any kind, and anything that's currently being maintained in the system can be a search field. So if we want to know anything, the company in a specific area code, you have a lot of different search options. When you're presented with your list, if we click on one of our companies, we go to it, we see, is this the information? If we have a customer on the phone, no, that's not quite it, we'll go back and the list remains intact. So for finding and navigating through, that's really straightforward. If we wanted to create any new records, again, right-click, same option. So let's take a look at our start on our marketing campaign. So this is, again, anything that is raw data. Anytime that you have a group of lists that you want to market to, marketing is a three-tiered campaign. And what I mean by that, let's take a look at this trade show. The trade show is the main campaign. These waves, these are all the subcategories. And then you have activities, those actual executables. So as we go through this trade show, for example, we've got our awareness, we've got our conference events, industry advertising. As we go through and actually execute on the trade show, at the end it tells us our analysis here. It says how many opportunities, how many sales we got from this specific campaign, and how many deals were lost. So at the end of the trade show here, you actually have your details and your financials, your dollar amounts. You know what your budget was, you know what it cost you, and you know how many sales can be directly correlated with that campaign. So that's our marketing, again, in a nutshell. Now let's take a look at some of the other tabs we have here. Just like your MAS 9200 system, when you open a screen, you're presented with multiple tabs. Well, we have the same navigation here. Again, I'm on my CRM, and I have multiple tabs. As I drill into the company, we'll have different tabs there as well. So my next tab is my calendar. And remember, I did say that this could be run from within Outlook, which means also the appointments and tasks here are also completely integrated with Outlook. So appointments, anything that has a start time, tasks are anything that has a due date. Now what we've found is the majority of our users do have some sort of calendar, whether it's a pen and paper planner, whether it's Outlook, or some sort of organization so you don't miss appointments. And again, we don't just keep appointments so that we stay on time, but we also keep appointments so we can better manage our day. So if I have a couple hours free in the afternoon, then I can think what other tasks I have to do, or I can properly allocate those couple free hours to make sure I'm utilizing my time in the most efficient way. Appointments and tasks can also be assigned by management. So depending on your permissions and depending on your organization, you might want to assign follow-up calls to your employees. You might want to assign research tasks, anything that needs to be completed. Again, tasks and appointments just designed to make sure nothing's falling through the cracks, we're all on time, and all the meetings and appointments are being met. So whether you prefer to initiate these meetings in Outlook, they're still going to show up in CRM, and vice versa. If you sign up these meetings in CRM, they will show up in Outlook as well. The next tab we have here is contacts, and we won't get into this because this is just a list of contacts. This is an electronic Rolodex, so nothing too special here. But it is also integrated with Outlook. So if you have contacts in Outlook, those are going to come over based on your requirements. Obviously, we're not going to pull your friends and family over. Our contacts are going to come straight over from Outlook and into this contacts list. Moving down, we'll talk about leads. And leads can come from a number of different ways. So we talked about marketing and how we can send out email blasts. You can also receive your leads from an external source if you're purchasing lists, like I mentioned. If a competitor goes out of business and you get their customer list. If you have trade shows and you get all of the contact information. So leads come in a number of different ways. We can upload them via an import utility. We can capture data from your website that would come directly to this tab. Or we can go ahead and create a new lead manually. So let's go through this manual process because I do want to I do want to take us through one set of data entry options. So here we are on our new lead screen. Say we have our oil distribution company, and all of these fields with an asterisk, those means those are required fields. Now you can have as many or as few fields as you like. If what they're interested in, perhaps the fuel, lead, service, maybe it's a combination. Again, decision time frame, a lot of different things that people need to track depending on your personal requirements. So some of the things I've required here are company name. And notice when I go to my company name, it takes me to a LinkedIn option. So when it comes to, I want to mention this social media, that's a lot of activity, there's a lot of buzz around not just CRM, but integration with social media. So this is just one example where if this is our lead, we can take a look at this lead through LinkedIn and see if we're connected somehow. So we're not going to get into that for the demonstration. I just wanted to point that out. So let's take a look at our first name. Last name, we'll use Dale Johnson, and just to get some of these required fields entered. I'll go ahead and save my lead. So this is manual process. Again, remember, we can import this information. We don't have to key everything in manually. Now, because Dale Johnson shows up in the company database, it's actually finding me a person match. Had the company name been comparable or perhaps a duplicate, that would show up as well. And this is important. We want to make sure that we're not entering duplicate records. We can assume that Dale Johnson, let's take a look at this possible person match, because we can assume Johnson is in our database more than once. And yep, here we go, we have quite a few. So when it comes to the sales and managing your database, managing your leads, as an organization, really this information is one of the best assets to your sales team. But we want to make sure that it's clean, that the lists are concise and they're accurate, and we want to make sure that we can use this list, again, to generate more revenue and bring in more customers. So we have to make sure that it's accurate and we're not cluttering it up with duplicate entries. I can see here, there is no Dale Johnson that has the same phone number, email address, so I'm going to ignore the warning and enter the person. And it will ask for a few more required fields, again, based on your setup. We'll just go ahead and save Dale's information and use him. So now we've got our lead. Now, we talked about the marketing campaigns, and there's a lot of different strategies on how to market, how to do call campaigns, how to do email campaigns, and again, DM2 has a ton of experience with what works specifically in this industry. So there's a lot of different methodologies and options, but once we have the information, again, all the data that we're tracking, now we can start utilizing this to start promoting our information. So once we've got our lead, we've got this workflow on the side here, and we'll see this throughout the software. And this is completely user-defined, and we can determine what happens when we get a lead. If we're rating leads, you have that option. Again, if you have a huge trade show list, you're probably going to want to rate the people that stood around and spoke to you if they had a conversation, if you went out for a drink. Those guys are going to be rated higher than someone that just came by and threw their card in the bowl for a drawing or something. So we can rate our leads, again, making sure we're focusing on our efforts on revenue-generating activities. We can assign it, edit it, or create a callback. Let's say we create a callback, and this is part of that communications tracking. I'm going to say all of the default information. This is going to put a phone reminder on my Outlook and in my CRM here. So it's just like that, we've scheduled a callback. So time goes on, we talk, we chat, we build a relationship. Now it's time for this company to be promoted to a real opportunity. So they're interested, they like us, we have the product they like, and we're moving forward in the process. So here we've got our description again. This is a lead converting to opportunity. And again, I just want to show exactly how simple it is with all this data flowing from one screen to the next. Okay, so here we've created an opportunity. I know I'm at the opportunity because I've got my opportunity icon, and I've got all the information that I'm required to track. So also, opportunity, let's take a look at communications. The communication, that phone call from that lead, that's come over as well. So you're not ever losing any information. You're not ever going to lose data. Everything flows through the entire system. All right, let's hop back to my CRM. If we take a look at our leads, let's filter this to all. We can see all our leads, and it has been converted to an opportunity. All right, so let's follow that workflow and that whole process. Let's hop over to our Opportunities tab. And again, I'm back at my CRM, so I've got all my CRM tabs. So here's our opportunity pipeline. And again, depending on your sales cycle, this one can be a more detailed sales cycle. We go from leads to something that's qualified, to submitting a proposal, negotiating price, and then finally our sales agreed. Now here's our statistics. Here's how many forecasted gallons we have. Things are looking good this quarter. You've got your average probability or certainty. That means how confident you are that the deal is going to close or where you are in the sales cycle. So again, what this is designed to do is just keep all the checks and balances in place. Make sure that you're following the correct procedure. Make sure if you have your phone call, you have a follow-up email. When you go on site to do your meeting, you have your follow-up phone call. Whatever your process is, DM2 will build your workflow into Sage CRM, and again, just making sure that you are upholding all the company policies. So here we have our oil distribution company, Dale Johnson. That's our new person. Let's take a look at American Lube. This is an existing customer. Here's an opportunity of adding gallons. From an existing customer standpoint, let's take a look at everything we can see. I know, again, I'm on my company screen because I've got my company icon, and everything's hyperlinked so I can bounce in and around. American Lube is an existing customer. We've got all of their terms information, so all their financial data. They are checked as a lube customer. I have lube and fuel options, so some customers purchase both my products. American Lube only purchases lube. Now, these types of fields are very important when it comes to marketing, because if I wanted to start selling fuel into my existing customer base, it's very easy to pull a list of my lube customers because I'm tracking that data. We also have credit score here. Sometimes we do require a customer's credit score before we go into business with them. So if that's the case, we can put that into the workflow. And again, we're not going to send a quote until we get your credit score. So just a couple examples of all the information that we can track. Here we have our customer maintenance screen, and this will look familiar to many of you. This is our MAS 90 and 200 customer information. So you've got all of the tabs, all of the summary, again, period over period. You have a list of all the data that you're used to accessing, all from this screen. Now, right now, everything we're looking at, we're in a browser-based environment for Extended Enterprise Suite. These are all CRM-only licenses. So don't think that just because the sales rep has access to CRM that they're going to be able to get into the general ledger or perhaps purchase orders, vendors. This is really just for the CRM purposes. But like I mentioned before, those end-to-end approach, those two independent silos, we still need to access the same information regardless of which department you're working in, but upholding the same policies in MAS and security permissions, we can really get down to field-based security. So just because we're accessing customer maintenance, again, doesn't mean we're going to have full access to all of MAS. All right, so there's our existing customer information. We also have all of the contacts that you currently have in Mass. Those all come over, and so do the addresses. So all of your ship-to codes. Now, again, ship-tos, we might have, this is just a couple, we've got about 6. Sometimes that can be 10, 20s, hundreds of ship-tos. So however many you have in Mass, those are all going to show up here. And during the conversion process, obviously you're not going to have to enter all that. All of your Mass data gets populated here to CRM right away. If we take a look back at our people, we've got this contact code. And the first line up here, these are blank. We only have 2 contacts here. So what this means is in Mass, we only have 2 contacts. The rest of these contacts residing only in Sage CRM. And I want to point this out because you decide what information goes back and forth. And typically, best practices, we have every single contact in Sage CRM. But we don't necessarily need all of these contacts in the ERP module. So while we are sharing information, it's bidirectional and it's all instant, I do want to just inform you, you have control over that as well. You do have control over some of the stops. All right, so let's hop back to my CRM for my opportunities. That was American Lube and some of the opportunities they're working on. Now let's take a look at Eurolandia. This is a different company. And you'll notice we don't have any financial information here. That's because Eurolandia is a prospect. So we haven't actually done business with them. If we take a look at their opportunities, they are working on opportunities with some oil products. So we can drill down. Again, we can see any communications that have been made, any documents. So if there was, again, that credit approval process. We have a lot of notes we can take, a lot of options here. If I want to do a quote, I want to right-click and do a quote for Gareth for this oil product. Now, for those of you familiar with sales order, you'll notice, first of all, we get a warning here saying that this is a prospect account. They don't exist in Mass. So for those of you familiar, now we have a new order type, a prospect quote. So what this means is I can still access all of my inventory information. I can still access my availability if it's for something in pieces. If it is something that's being tracked, again, I've got my item options. I can track right back to inventory, again, without having to access Mass 90 or take up a Mass 90 license. You've got your discounts and your profit percentage. So if you choose to expose this to the sales team, they can see perhaps you have discount rules or discount guidelines. They have access to all this information. So we'll go ahead and we'll accept our prospect quotes. If we look on our quotes tab, we see there's already an existing quote. We can keep them as a running total. So let's hop over to Eurolandia. Say we've gone through all the checks and balances. We've built the relationship. We've moved through that little colored pipeline, and now it's time to promote Eurolandia to a customer. So they're going to go ahead and place the order, and they're going to become a full customer. Here's this maintain relationship option. Now what this will do, you can look up the customer list. It'll check your database to make sure there's no comparable matches. So again, keeping that database clean and concise. We can go ahead and automatically assign a customer number, or we can manually type one in. The customer template, this would be set up on a user-by-user basis based on the sales rep, based on the terms code. And now, Eurolandia, just by refreshing, is an existing customer. So this has been pushed over to Mass. Notice it's given us our Mass customer number. Because of our template, our terms code that default in, and again, all the financial information. If we hop over to our Mass program, I do want to show that sales order that we created, was a prospect quote, and then when we dial into Mass, we'll see that it is, in fact, a real live quote. And I did mention you can view CRM from within Mass. Here's how I would log in. So you still have access to all your modules if that's just one option. So customer maintenance, again, completely independent. Here's our Eurolandia, and there's our sales order. There's our quote. So now it's a real quote, not just a prospect quote. And this works both ways. Say Eurolandia changes something and they become incorporated, or perhaps they change any information. Regardless of where you enter data in the system, it is going to show up at both places. So here, for example, Eurolandia is incorporated. So this is the same for ship-to addresses, people, company information, all that data. Again, regardless of how you access it, what department you're in, or what you need it for, we need to keep all that data set the same. So that's what we've done here with that end-to-end approach. Everything is completely integrated. You've got your quotes, your orders, and all your customer information. So that was the explanation of the sales process. Let's go back to my CRM. Again, we started off with our leads, which was just that raw data. Once we approved that lead, it pushed it over to an opportunity. Once we move the opportunity through this entire cycle, at the end is where we get to when our sales agreed upon and we move the check. Now, say this is a little too much. That's not how it works. If you're just receiving calls and receiving information, we can just right-click and say we just want a new quote. It's not an opportunity. It's not going to be this big process. We just want our company. We'll use 3G Homes. We're going to use our person. And all we want to do is create a quote. So just like that, we get to our sales order entry screen. So it doesn't have to be, I'm going to cancel here. We've already created those. So if you want to cancel sales order, yes. We don't have to go through the whole process. It all depends on your personal policies, your personal preference, and how you operate. So just showing in mind, again, some of the different options we have. So when it comes to doing processes, in addition to our leads and our sales process, then you also have cases. So this is the post-sale follow-up. So again, this was anything that isn't revenue generating. Perhaps it was a missed shipment. Perhaps it was the wrong amount. Perhaps the truck is late. For those of you that deal with environmental cleanup, this is an excellent resource to help monitor that entire process from the time a customer calls in to the time everything gets cleaned up and sorted. So the same type of workflow that we've been talking about, going through all the different stages. And as you go through these stages, making sure all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and making sure your policies and procedures are being upheld. So from a cases perspective, you also have an option. If we take a look at Artie's here, he got the wrong amount of gallons. You also have the option to track a solution. This means you have a knowledge base. And that can be used for specific training purposes as well for people that are new hires. Or again, if it's a complex case, if it's a complex post-sale issue, you'll have action items and tasks, etc. Okay, so let's hop back to my CRM. The last tab I want to talk about here is groups. Now, grouping, when it comes to communications, we can group our customers. Again, that's our big asset to the sales team, this huge customer database. And you need to be able to slice and dice it up when it comes to communicating with your customers. So groups are a great way to do that. What we have here, I already have some set up. I have all my California leads. I've got all my CFO contacts in this group. We've got some finance and some East Coast contacts. So we'll go through setting up a group real briefly, just to show you how powerful it can be. We've got two different types. We've got dynamic and static. Dynamic means as people fall in and out of this criteria, the list will increase or decrease. Static is just a snapshot in time. So at this very moment, the people that apply to this criteria. say we've been doing a lot of sales activity, but we haven't actually been bringing in many sales. We're doing a lot of meetings, we're building relationships, we're sending out a lot of quotes, but nothing's coming back. So because I selected opportunity, here's all my opportunity options. So say I want to take a look at the opportunity that was created by what date. If they had a quote associated with it, we could do that too. Let's take a look at specific products. And what I'm doing, I just want to take a couple different options for data selection so we can get a good, there we go, a good feel for what this tool can do. So when we define our groups, we've got our opportunity created by date. You can see the date range. For the opportunity for the product. So say we want to talk to all the opportunities in the past 30 days that we haven't had a response for. And again, when it comes to selecting, all your standard Windows rules apply. You've got your people, again, any type of selection criteria. So based on our, again, date range, we'll say opportunities that we haven't spoken to in 30 days, even though we sent out a quote. So we get this list. That's 182. That's quite a long list there. So what we can do, let's save our list. That's our new group. We can go ahead and print a new document. This would be for any type of mailing activity. So if you wanted to print a mailer, we could do that. The new tasks. Remember in the beginning we talked about the Outlook integration and calendar, appointments, and tasks. So we could actually create a new task. Say we don't just want to email blast. Say we actually want to make a phone call, and you can send out a script, and you can say when the calls are due by. And we'll say Susan, Brian, and Damien. They're all responsible for calling these customers. Wave activity. Remember we talked about marketing campaigns. When it comes to properly allocating costs, these three people are going to be on the phone if this was a marketing campaign. We want to make sure that we are adequately tracking all the hours spent. So you can do so. Say we're going to do 15 calls per day, just 2 days a week. If I click Save, it's creating those tasks. We'll say yes because I have administrator rights. I can assign tasks. Now it'll pop up on my employee screen, and I can track their progress as well and make sure they are completing those tasks and making those calls. The other option, perhaps we don't want to call these 182 opportunities. Maybe we just want to send them an email. So I can do an email blast directly from here. Obviously, we have to have a valid email in the account for that to be applicable. You've got your templates. So if you have a number of different templates, we can go ahead and send the email out using word merge. All the other fields, again, that you can mask and enter. And you have all of your communication options again. So while we're emailing, we're still tracking the communications and making sure that we're not over-emailing specific contacts. Now this is a manual group and we're sending up a manual email. But if you have rules and regulations in place, for example, if you want to automate this process where when a quote is uncommunicated with for 30 days, then send the email automatically, you can do that one at a time. You can set up a rule like that. So a number of different options, again, with communicating with your customers. So we're going to cancel. I'm not going to send 182 emails from my system. But here we have, again, just an option of what we can do with groups. The same thing on the leads. Perhaps you want to do a group for all of your brand new leads from the trade show. Perhaps you want to do a group with all the support cases that have been opened in the past 30 days. So there's our grouping options. Now I've talked about emails and communications. So let's hop back over to American Lube. Again, our summary tab. I know I'm on my company screen. I've got my company icon, and now I've got all my company tabs. Take a look at communication. So here's our 2 calls. we have to call Artie and Peyton and Susan and Damien. That's the script call we just assigned. All of the email information, all of the phone calls, all of the meetings, everything that's been done with American Lube is going to be filed here. And again, it's not just me being logged into Susan May, it's everyone company-wide. And it's not just phone calls, it's emails as well. Now when it comes to filing emails, we do have Outlook here, so we'll open up Outlook. There's a couple different options. We can automate it. We can leave it as a manual process. We can set up our alerts. For example, here's an email from Artie. We'll go through the manual process just for the demo. I can file email. Oops, I have to log in. The system knows that Artie works for American Lube. So we can say, what is this email regarding? Is this regarding the quote that we just did, the opportunity? Perhaps this is regarding a case where there's a warranty issue or an environmental spill. We'll say it's regarding our quote that we entered. And just like this, we've tagged this email. It came into my email account, but we've filed it within the American Lube page. So here's our quote. That was the email in. We can actually hop to the exact quote. Again, everything's hyperlinked, everything's icon, and it brings me to the quote with the line items, how many gallons they're going to have total, if there's any freight, etc., and then the balance deal. So again, I know I'm on my quote tab because I've got it listed here. And all this is completely integrated with your MAS 9200 system. So the inventory that you have set up, all of the pricing, if you have contract pricing or discount pricing, all of that's going to flow through here. Let's hop back to American Lube Communications. Now, the benefit of this, obviously, if you're working with a customer, we want the whole customer experience. If Peyton calls in, perhaps he's covering something for Artie and he doesn't have the details, you want to be able to provide your customer with all the details. I know personally when I call some of the companies I do business with and they know my first and last name and last time I called and, thanks for calling again, it always makes you feel good. So from a customer service perspective, again, it's great to have this entire 360-degree view of the customer. So regardless of who calls in, you know exactly what's happening. Okay, so the final component with an existing customer that I want to talk about here is this inquiry. We've talked about all the integration pieces. Here we have integration with the Business Insights Explorer. So this tool is available for you, and I know a lot of our DM2 customers are working on their upgrade, so this is just another exciting tool you'll get at that point. If we want to take a look at our customer sales orders, we've got American Lube. This will give me a list of all the existing sales orders. And when we pull up this, it's a different user interface. So depending, again, on what you're used to, all the information is available in CRM. It's available in customer maintenance. Here's just another way to look at the data. Again, making the system intuitive to you. So you can access the information in a way that's quick for you and easy for you to get through. So here we have a list of all of our orders. Because I selected American Lube, we can go ahead and remove columns if we need to. We can go ahead and sort the columns ascending or descending. And when we select our order, down below we've got our line items. So when it comes to doing analysis, we have a lot of different options. If we want to take a look at our order total here, ascending, descending, so we want to break it up by what's on back order, what's been quoted, and what's been ordered. And then finally, you also have calculation options. So if you wanted to get the average order, $1,600. If you wanted to get the total of all orders out there for American Lube, you have that option as well. So again, just another tool What we're trying to do is get all the information from your customer in one spot. So regardless of what you're accessing, you get a full view of your customer, exactly what's happening. Let's close out of that data tool. We also have our quick look for American Loop. So at any point, if a customer calls in, we can see the most recent communications, we can see the most recent sales activities, and then we can also see the cases, that's that post-sale support. So from one aspect to another, regardless of how many departments you have, also regardless of how many departments you actually work in. We know that a lot of times we don't just wear one department hat. Sometimes we're doing the job of 2, 3, 4 people, and sometimes 4 different departments. So you do want to make sure everyone's accessing the same information and you get this entire holistic view of your customer. Okay, so let's hop back again to My CRM. We've also got Team CRM. So from a managerial perspective, you can take a look at your entire team on a team by team basis. Here's our team calendar. We have our leads. Again, remember we said leads, that's anything that's that raw data. Anything that's raw data, contacts that haven't quite been met. So however you access those leads, again, they can be from trade shows, you can import lists, you can capture information from your website. If you have a contact us piece of your website, you can have information flow directly through here. Remember, the leads will also make sure that the information doesn't already exist. It will give us this possible match. So that's our option. Once the lead is qualified, we know they want to do business with us. Remember, we saw how easy it was to promote that lead to an opportunity. Now let's change our opportunities to our sales team. So from a managerial perspective, here's a list of every single opportunity that's out there. If I want to take a look at all the negotiations that are in progress, I can filter my pipeline based on that. It'll give me the number of opportunities we're looking at, what's forecasted, what the probability is of this order coming in. So this is from, again, a manager perspective. If we want to take a look at all the deals we lost, we can filter on this as well. Perhaps there's a theme by rep, by area or geography, etc. Finally, cases. From a managerial perspective, same thing when it comes to tracking all the different issues, instances. Here we have 52 open cases. So a lot of different options from a manager's perspective. Also, you do have to talk about reporting. Reports, you do have your canned reports. And remember when we created that group where we were going to get a group of all quotes that were 30 days old and hadn't been communicated with? Well, that whole wizard that we went through, that's also how you create reports. It's all English, it's all very easy, and it's all point and click. So if I want to take a look at activity reports, see what my reps are doing, I can have the activity breakdown by user. Let's take a look at this report. And internally at Sage, this was a very popular report for our management team to see who's doing what, how many emails are being sent, how many phone calls are being made, who's doing them, and you have your title, your totals at the bottom. So other reports, common ones, we've got our sales reports. Again, so you know what to forecast, so you know what you can expect. Take a look at our sales by rep. Because when it comes to forecasting, again, if your sales reps miss their quota, we can understand how that happens, but you cannot miss your forecast. If you say that you're going to sell X amount of gallons, then you have to bring those gallons in. That's the one thing when it comes to, again, that sales process. We want to make sure that we're being accurate and we're adequately prepared to fulfill those orders. So we don't want to have orders we can't fill, but we also don't want to have too much inventory sitting around just waiting for orders. But as you know, that's a little bit of an art, a little bit of a science to keeping a balanced inventory. And part of that is also keeping an accurate forecast, forecasting properly and upholding your forecast. So there's our opportunities by report. But again, you can see just a list of some of the general reports. If we're going to create a new report, I did mention it's that easy wizard. Again, we won't go through the process, but I will just pick an option. See, it's all words, it's all English, it's all very easy to just add report content, add search criteria, and that's how you build a report. So you don't have to learn a new program, you don't have to learn new coding or anything. It's just point and click on the words you need. All right, so that's our reporting in the managerial perspective. So now, with that, we've got a couple of minutes left, and I have seen some questions pop up I've tried to address during the presentation. So let me give you this contact information here.
Thanks, Debbie. You did a great job as usual.
Thanks, Tom.
And what Debbie's got up here now is this is the DM2 sales team. We've got Billy Durden, who handles all of our accounts east of the Mississippi. And then we've got Kate Evans, who handles everything west of the Mississippi. And I know we're running out of time right now, so if there are questions that we haven't been able to answer, we'll have Kate and Billy follow up with everyone. And we are set up, Kate and Billy are both set up to be able to do the same kind of demonstration. So if anybody would like to go into more detail and go over specific situations that they encounter with their company, we'd be more than happy to work with you on an individual basis on that. But we're right at about 3 o'clock, so in respect for everyone's time, we'll go ahead and close things off. And like we said, we'll follow up, make sure that we answer everybody's questions. We'll send a link out to this recorded session so you can go back and review it or share it with other people in your company. And then we are going to continue to do webcasts throughout the year. We'll send out invitations to future webcasts. We've got a number of different topics that we're looking at putting webcasts together, and it seems like our customer base is very interested based on the turnout that we've been getting for our last webcast. So we really appreciate everybody's time and attention. And on that note, we'll kind of close things up here. Thanks again, Debbie.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, and thanks everyone for attending.
All right. All right, everyone, have a great weekend, and keep your eyes open for future webcast invites. Thank you very much.